like I said, to the activation principle. And I'm going to give you an activity here to demonstrate the activation principle. And I'm going to ask you to, it's a very simple memory activity, but it illustrates hopefully the principle very well. And the idea is simple, that, when you can activate relevant prior knowledge, and this does not have to mean formal knowledge, it can be intuitive knowledge, experience, heuristics, incorrect ideas, even misconceptions, and so on and so forth. If that knowledge has been activated, it helps people notice and encode novel material. So let me illustrate this. And there are many, many ways of doing this. And I think one of the activities that you used in your lesson, Alan, was comparing and contrasting, because it helps people see, right? But there are a host of other things that one could do to activate the knowledge. So here's a simple activity to help you see, hopefully, the importance of activating knowledge. So I'm going to give you some things to commit to memory, right? So you have to remember who did what in this list. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So read and remember as best as you can. All right. Okay. Now is the time for you to recall, and you can do it yourself, or you can shout out the responses. I don't know how it's going to happen here, but let's see. So who played football? Who pressed the light switch? Who made a movie? Who wrote a play? Who set for sale? Now, as you're thinking about these responses, think about how easy or difficult it is for you to answer these questions. Some of you may have perfect memory, others, like me, not quite so much. So you may have difficulty, right? Basically, I showed you a few sentences and I asked you to remember who did what. Now imagine if I were to, chances are you may not be able to remember all of them. In fact, if researchers suggest correctly, you may be able to remember maybe half of them. Okay, if you're good at it. So now suppose I were to redesign the activity in this way. Remember who did what. Right? So now if I were to ask you all the questions, you probably can answer all the questions quite easily. And the only difference was I was presenting novel information, something that you needed to process and remember. The only difference between the two cases was, in the second case, I activated your prior knowledge about the different kinds of things you needed to remember and the people, and it was suddenly very easy for you to remember. So this basically simply illustrates that, we should really pay a lot of attention to activating knowledge. And one cannot activate relevant prior knowledge unless one has makes certain assumptions or thesis about what students actually know, right? And like we saw in the lesson, in Alan's lesson, the contrasting cases was a very good way to activate, because it helps, people, it helps students, see things in contrasts.